I now had the second floor of 3080 East 3rd Street to myself, a mattress on the floor, my radio cassette player, and piles of books on either side. Not much else, not even a chair. Two tall windows faced the brick wall of a neighboring building with the faded letters spelling Provenzano Lanza Funeral Home painted on it. A small garden below allowed morning light to come in and the sounds of traffic to echo constantly day and night. During the day, I went to work at a single-room occupancy hotel down the street. Most of the tenants were drinkers, older, all were white, the majority with Irish surnames: Callahan, Quigley, Blackburn, Wedlock. The first big job was to clear out the backyard. It had been used as a dump for decades, piled high with broken furniture, shattered cast iron bathtubs, rotting clothes, endless beer cans, and empty green pint bottles of Night Train and Wild Irish Rose. Next was cleaning and painting the small grime-encrusted rooms of the SRO, starting with the window, spraying the amber panes of glass, watching the dark yellow rivulets of nicotine-tinted fluid mix with the blue Windex to form a greenish liquid that pooled on the sill, spilling over the edge and down the wall to the floor. I was working there only 3 weeks when old Carl died. He had been bedridden the entire time. Carl had a long beard and looked emaciated, but the few times I saw him alive, he always nodded hello. He had cancer but did not want to go to the hospital. Mr. Morgan and Ed Blackburn would help him out, getting him his cigarettes and the bottle of Night Train he still managed to get down every day. Then Morgan came to me and said Carl would not answer his door. I got his key and we opened it. The heavy smell of nicotine layered over the odor of Carl's unclean body. Beneath that, the sharp, acidic smell of urine rising up from the floor. I could see right away he was dead, his body stiff, his head turned up and away in an odd contortion facing the wall. He appeared to be looking for something, or as if he was caught in a spasm of pain or of ecstasy before he died. Morgan murmured, "He's gone," then turned to shuffle away. The sunlight coming into the room was muted by the yellowed shade. I touched Carl on his wrist, not to see if he was alive, but out of a morbid curiosity. His arm was like a piece of dry wood, his long-nailed fingers curled in like talons. Later, a cop stood at the open doorway without going inside. "He looks dead all right," he said, before calling into the precinct on his radio. "I'll have to stay outside the room until the coroner gets here. Could be a while." I got a chair for the cop to sit on. It wasn't until after 9 p.m. that the black van marked New York City coroner pulled up in front. 2 men came in with a gurney, put Carl in a body bag, and carried him out. The next day I went in to clear out his room. Under his bed were 6 mason jars full of urine, 2 without lids, in varying shades from amber to pale gold. A month later, it was Morgan who would not answer his door. He had gone into the hospital for an infection in his foot and was told he might lose it if the antibiotics didn't work. I'm not going to be no peg leg. While he was recovering, he stayed in bed. I would knock on his door and ask him if he needed anything from outside. His thin, pale face, with a bulbous nose, wore a constant, doubtful expression that made me think of a cartoon character, though I never could recall which. He always insisted on tipping me $1 or 2 when I came back from the bodega. Like most of the tenants, when they weren't drunk, Morgan was unfailingly courteous. The morning he didn't answer, I got the key and opened his door to see him propped up in bed with a plastic bag over his head, tied at the neck. I stood for a moment, unable to move, not comprehending. I stepped in and saw he was not breathing. A large red upside-down heart covered his face. The black lettering I knew spelled "I love New York," crinkled and unreadable.